Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood in the command center of the Terran Defense Station, watching the incoming transmission with tired eyes. He had been expecting this message for weeks, ever since human scouts reported massive alien fleet movements near the outer colonies. The holographic display flickered to life, showing 7 different alien species, arranged in what could only be described as a war council. The lead figure was tall and crystalline, its body reflecting light like a living diamond. When it spoke, its voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "People of Earth," it began, each word carefully pronounced in perfect human language. "I am High Commander Veltar of the Hegemony Alliance. He represents 7 of the galaxies. Most advanced civilizations." Kim felt his stomach tighten. The Hegemony Alliance was not a name he wanted to hear in the same sentence as humanity. These were the species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, the ones who decided which races lived and which ones disappeared into the void of space. "For too long," Veltar continued, "your species has expanded beyond your designated boundaries. You have claimed worlds that do not belong to you. You have built weapons that threaten the peace we have maintained for millennia. This ends now." The hologram shifted, showing star maps of human space. Red markers appeared over every human colony, every space station, every military base. There were so many red dots that the map looked like it was bleeding. "You have 30 standard days to withdraw all human presence to your home system," Veltar announced. "All colonies will be abandoned. All military vessels will be decommissioned. All weapons of mass destruction will be surrendered to hegemony forces. If you comply, your species will be allowed to exist within the Sol system under our protection and guidance." Kim's aide, Captain Lee Minho, whispered urgently in his ear. "Sir, they're demanding we give up everything. Every ship we've built." Kim raised his hand for silence, his eyes never leaving the alien commander's image. "If you refuse," Veltar's voice took on a colder tone, "we will demonstrate why the hegemony has maintained galactic peace for 3,000 years. Our combined fleets number over 50,000 vessels. Our weapons can crack planets and extinguish stars. We have ended civilizations that were far more advanced than yours." The transmission showed images of dead worlds, their surfaces turned to glass by alien weapons. Empty space where star systems used to exist, now nothing but cosmic dust and debris. The message was clear. This was not a negotiation. "You may think your species is special," Veltar continued. "Every race we have faced believed the same thing. They all thought their determination, their courage, their technology would save them. None of them were correct. You are young, primitive, and vastly outnumbered. Accept our generous offer while it still stands." The hologram flickered and died, leaving the command center in relative darkness. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The weight of the ultimatum hung in the air like a physical presence. 50,000 alien warships against humanity's few hundred vessels. Weapons that could destroy planets against human technology that was barely 2 centuries old. Captain Lee cleared his throat nervously. "Sir, perhaps we should consider—" "No." Kim's voice was quiet but firm. He turned to face the assembled staff officers, his weathered face showing no sign of fear or doubt. "Send a message to every human world, every colony, every ship in the fleet. Emergency protocols are now in effect." "Sir," another officer spoke up hesitantly, "the math is not in our favor. They have us outnumbered 50 to 1.
As?
Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. Maybe if we negotiate?" Kim walked to the large window overlooking Earth's orbital defense platforms. Below, he could see the blue and white marble of humanity's birth world, peaceful and beautiful against the black of space. His grandfather had been born on that world. His children lived there now. "You know what the difference is between us and every other species the hegemony has faced?" Kim asked, still looking out at Earth. The officers exchanged glances. Captain Lee spoke carefully. "Sir." Kim turned back to face them, and for the first time since the transmission ended, he smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Every other species they conquered was civilized. They followed rules. They had honor codes and military traditions that made sense. His smile grew wider. "We're not civilized. We're human." He walked to the communication console and began typing orders. Contact the Luna Weapons Facility.
Tell them.
To start pulling everything out of storage.
What?
Contact the Mars foundries and tell them to restart the old production lines. Contact the outer colonies and tell them to begin Operation Blackout. Sir, Captain Lee asked, confusion clear in his voice. What is Operation Blackout? Kim finished typing and looked up at his staff. Every eye in the room was on him, waiting for his response. It's what we do when someone threatens our home. We show them what 300 years of human warfare looks like when we stop playing nice. The command center erupted into activity as officers began relaying orders across human space. Deep in storage facilities on a dozen worlds, weapons that had been locked away for decades began to hum with power. The hegemony wanted to see what humanity was capable of when pushed to the wall. They were about to find out that humans had never met a fight they would not take. Director Park Hyjin walked through the underground tunnels of Luna Base, her footsteps echoing off metal walls that had not seen this much activity in 50 years. All around her, workers in protective suits wheeled out weapon systems that most people had forgotten existed. The air hummed with the sound of machinery that had been sleeping for decades, suddenly coming back to life. "Ma'am," called Lieutenant Choi Jun-sik, jogging to catch up with her. "The inventory report from Section C is ready." Park stopped at a massive blast door, marked with warning signs in 12 different languages. She placed her palm on the scanner and watched the thick metal slide open with a grinding sound. Inside, rows of nuclear warheads stretched as far as the eye could see, each one carefully maintained and ready for use. "How many?" she asked. 43,000 nuclear devices of various sizes, Jun-sik read from his tablet. "That's just..." In this section, Mars facility reports another 30,000. The asteroid belt mining stations have been converted to mass drivers and are ready to launch kinetic kill vehicles. Park nodded, making notes on her own device. Unlike the aliens with their clean, efficient weapons, humans had never thrown anything away. Every war, every conflict, every brilliant or terrible idea had been preserved in storage facilities like this one. The Terran military was not elegant or streamlined. It was comprehensive. They walked deeper into the facility, past storage areas filled with chemical weapons, biological agents, and electromagnetic pulse devices. In one section, engineers were loading ancient ballistic missiles onto transport vehicles. In another, technicians were activating swarm drone systems that could overwhelm enemy defenses through sheer numbers. "What about the Cyber Warfare Division?" Park asked. Jun-sik grinned. "Already deployed. They've been mapping hegemony computer networks for 3 weeks. Apparently, alien cybersecurity assumes everyone fights with honor." On Europa, chief engineer Kim Dal-soo stood in the main assembly hall of the Moon's military production center. Around him, assembly lines that had been shut down after the colonial wars were roaring back to life. Workers in environmental suits moved between stations, assembling weapons that the galaxy had not seen in centuries. "Status report," Kim called out over the noise. "Kinetic weapons production is at full capacity," shouted his assistant over the machinery. "We are producing railgun ammunition at 10 times the normal rate. The particle beam weapons are being modified for ship-to-ship combat, and the gravity bomb project has been moved to highest priority." Kim smiled grimly. The aliens thought human technology was primitive because it was based on simple physics rather than exotic matter manipulation. They were about to learn that simple did not mean ineffective. A chunk of metal moving at 10% of light speed would destroy an alien ship just as effectively as their fancy energy weapons in the outer colonies. Militia commanders were conducting their own preparations. On New Shanghai, Colonel Yoon Sang-ho watched as his troops loaded everything from hunting rifles to mining explosives onto transport ships. "Sir," his aide asked, "are you sure about including the industrial equipment?" Yoon laughed. "Son, the aliens have probably never seen a mining laser used as a weapon, or a construction mech armed with plasma cutters. We are not just bringing military hardware to this fight, we are bringing 3 centuries of human ingenuity."
Oh.
Preparations were not limited to weapons. In hidden facilities across human space, scientists worked on projects that pushed the boundaries of known physics. Dr. Lee Yunru stood in her laboratory on Titan. watching as her team completed work on their most ambitious project yet. "The quantum entanglement communicators are ready," she announced to her staff. "When this war begins, we will be able to coordinate attacks across multiple star systems instantly. The aliens use standard hyperspace communications, which means we can intercept and jam their signals while they cannot touch ours." Her assistant, Dr. Park Kite, looked up from his workstation. "The temporal displacement weapons are also ready for field testing. We still do not fully understand how they work, but the results are promising." "Good," Lee said. "The hegemony has been fighting the same way for thousands of years. Expect their enemies to follow the same patterns, use the same strategies. They have no idea what to do when faced with weapons that should not exist according to their science." Meanwhile, in the depths of Earth's oceans, automated factories were producing something that had never been seen before in galactic warfare. Admiral Bei Dong-Su stood on the deck of a submarine, watching as thousands of small devices were loaded into launch tubes.
"Esther,"
his aide asked, "What exactly are these things?" Bei smiled. "Smart minds. Each one has its own AI, its own propulsion system, and its own targeting computer. We release them into space, and they hunt enemy ships like wolves hunting deer. The aliens have shields and armor designed to stop direct attacks. They have no defense against weapons that think for themselves, cross human space. The preparations continued. On Mars, weapons factories that had been silent for decades suddenly blazed with activity. On the asteroid mining stations, huge mass drivers were being loaded with chunks of metal the size of buildings. In secret laboratories, scientists worked on projects that violated every known law of civilized warfare. The hegemony had given humanity 30 days to surrender. Instead, those 30 days had become humanity's greatest advantage. For the first time in 3 centuries, every human world was working toward the same goal, showing the galaxy. What happened when you threatened the wrong species? The aliens wanted a war. They were about to discover that humans had been preparing for this fight since the day they first looked up at the stars. Fleet Admiral Bei Dong-Su stood on the bridge of the TNV Incheon, watching the tactical display with calm eyes. After 30 days of preparation, the moment had finally arrived. Long-range sensors showed the hegemony fleet dropping out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, exactly where human intelligence had predicted they would appear. "Sir," reported Commander UG-1 from her station, "enemy fleet composition matches our projections. 112 vessels in standard attack formation. They are broadcasting on all frequencies, demanding our immediate surrender." Dong-Su studied the alien ships through the main viewer. They were beautiful in their own way, sleek and elegant, with hulls that gleamed like polished metal. Their formation was perfect, with larger ships in the center, protected by smaller vessels in precise geometric patterns. It was the kind of fleet that had conquered 100 worlds. "Have they scanned the asteroid field?" he asked. "Negative, sir. They appear to be treating the asteroids as navigational hazards. Standard procedure is to avoid them rather than investigate." Smiled coldly. The aliens were following their military doctrine exactly as expected. In their thousands of years of conquest, they had never faced an enemy that would weaponize something as common as space rocks. "Commander Yu, send the activation signal to our friends in the asteroid belt." "Yes, sir. Transmitting activation codes now." What the hegemony fleet saw as a normal asteroid field suddenly came alive with deadly purpose. Thousands of rocks that had been drifting silently in space began to move with mechanical precision. Hidden engines fired, revealing that these were not natural asteroids at all, but carefully disguised weapons platforms. The lead alien vessel, a massive dreadnought that was probably older than human civilization, simply vanished in a ball of nuclear fire, then another, and another. In the space of 30 seconds, the perfect alien formation became a chaotic mess of burning wreckage and emergency signals. "Incoming transmission from the enemy fleet," you reported, her voice tight with professional satisfaction. "Put it through." The main screen flickered to life, showing the crystalline face of an alien commander. Its features were distorted with what humans had learned to recognize as shock and disbelief. What manner of barbarism is this? These weapons violate every galactic convention of civilized warfare. Dong-Su leaned forward in his command chair. Commander, I think you are confused. We never signed your conventions. You wanted to fight us, so we are fighting you. You deploy the second wave. The asteroid field erupted again, but this time with different weapons. Swarms of missiles, each no bigger than a human fist, poured out of hidden launchers. The aliens tried to shoot them down with their energy weapons, but there were simply too many. For every missile they destroyed, 10 more took its place. Sir, you called out? The enemy is attempting to retreat to minimum safe distance. Denied. Launch. The kinetic interceptors. From deeper in the asteroid belt, larger weapons platforms revealed themselves. These were not disguised as rocks. They were clearly human-built, ugly and functional, designed for one purpose only. Mass drivers the size of buildings began launching projectiles at incredible speeds. The alien commander appeared on screen again, its crystalline form flickering with panic. This is impossible. How can a primitive species possess such weapons? Primitive. Dong-Su laughed. We have been killing each other for 10,000 years. We got very good at it. You made one mistake, Commander. You assumed we would fight like civilized beings. The hegemony fleet tried to regroup, but human tactics made no sense according to their military training. Ships that should have been trying to escape instead flew directly at alien vessels, ramming them at full speed. Weapons platforms that should have been conserving ammunition instead launched everything they had in massive barrages. Sir, you reported enemy fleet strength is down to 400 vessels. They are requesting terms for withdrawal. Negative. This is total war now. Launch the hunter-killers. The final surprise came from the depths of space itself. What the aliens had taken for empty voids suddenly filled with small, fast-moving objects. These were the smart mines that had been deployed throughout the system, each one equipped with its own AI and propulsion system. The mines moved like living things, swarming around alien ships and exploding against their hulls. The aliens tried to shoot them down, but the mines were too small and too numerous. Worse, they learned from each attack, adapting their approach to overcome alien defenses. Commander, the alien leader called out desperately, "We yield. We withdraw. From your system." Dong-Su stood up from his command chair, his voice carrying across the bridge. Too late for that, I am afraid. You came here to destroy us. Now you get to learn what happens when you threaten human space. The battle lasted another 6 hours. When it was over, fewer than 50 alien ships remained, and those were so damaged they could barely maintain life support. The rest had been destroyed or captured by human forces that had appeared from nowhere. Using weapons and tactics the aliens had never encountered. Sir, you reported quietly, we are receiving transmissions from hegemony worlds. They are asking what happened to their fleet. Dong-Su looked out at the debris field that had once been the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Tell them this was just the warm-up. If they want to continue this war, they will discover that humans have been saving our best weapons. For special occasions, the first battle was over. The aliens had learned that fighting humans was nothing like fighting civilized species. The question now was whether they were smart enough to stop before humanity showed them what total war really meant. General Han Sujin stood in the war room deep beneath Geneva, surrounded by holographic displays showing battles across 20 different star systems. What had started as the hegemony's simple conquest had turned into something no one in the galaxy had ever seen before. The aliens were discovering that fighting humans was like fighting a nightmare that kept getting worse. Report, she commanded. Her voice cutting through the noise of the busy command center, Colonel Park Min-seok stepped forward, holding a tablet filled with battle data. Ma'am, the biological weapons deployed in Tau Ceti are performing beyond expectations. The alien ships are. Well, they are being eaten. Sujin raised an eyebrow. Eaten? Yes, ma'am. Our engineered bacteria consume the metal alloys used in hegemony ship hulls. The aliens designed their vessels to resist energy weapons and kinetic impacts, but they never considered microscopic attackers. Entire fleets are dissolving from the inside out. On the main display, feeds from the Tau Ceti system showed alien dreadnoughts simply falling apart in space. Their hulls developed holes that spread like cancer, growing larger until the ships broke into pieces. Escape pods fled the dying vessels, but even those were being consumed by the invisible biological agents. What about the Cyber Warfare Division? Sujin asked. Min-Seok grinned. Outstanding results, ma'am. The aliens use artificial intelligence to control many of their ship systems. Our computer viruses have turned their own AAs against them. In the Vega system, we watched an entire alien fleet fire on itself because their computers thought they were human vessels. Sujin nodded, making notes on her personal tablet. The beauty of human warfare was its chaos. While the aliens followed predictable patterns and standard operating procedures, humans threw everything at the wall to see what would stick. Show me the exotic weapons test, she ordered. The main display shifted to show the Proxima Centauri, a system where humanity had deployed some of its most experimental weapons. What they saw defied explanation. Space itself seemed to be folding and twisting around alien ships, crushing them like invisible hands. The quantum entanglement bombs are working perfectly, Min-Seok explained. Each bomb creates a localized space-time distortion. The aliens cannot defend against weapons that attack the fabric of reality itself, and they still cannot figure out our communication system. No, ma'am. Keep trying to jam our hyperspace communications, but we are not using hyperspace. The quantum entanglement network allows us to coordinate attacks across multiple star systems instantly. To them, it looks like we can read their minds. Dr. Lee Yunru watched from her laboratory on Titan as her latest creation was deployed in the Alpha Centauri system. The temporal displacement weapon was her masterpiece, a device that could slow down time around enemy ships while leaving human vessels unaffected. Activation successful, she reported to her team. The enemy fleet is now moving at approximately 1/10 normal speed, while our ships operate normally. On the tactical display, alien vessels appeared to be crawling through space like insects trapped in honey. Human fighters zipped around them, placing explosive charges with surgical precision before retreating to safe distance. When the charges detonated, the slowed alien ships had no chance to escape. Dr. Lee, her assistant, called out, "We are receiving reports that the hegemony is requesting emergency council sessions. They are calling our weapons impossible and violations of natural law." Lee smiled coldly. Natural law is whatever we make it. They wanted to see advanced human technology. Now they know why we kept the really dangerous stuff locked away. In the Sirius system, Admiral Kim Jae-young commanded a fleet of ships that barely looked like vessels at all. They were floating weapons platforms, each one bristling with armaments that belonged in a mad scientist's laboratory rather than a military arsenal. "Sir," reported his tactical officer, "the nanoswarm deployment was successful. Enemy vessels are being consumed at the molecular level." Through the main viewer, Kim watched as proud alien warships simply disappeared. The nanomachines were invisible to the naked eye, but their effect was unmistakable. Metal hulls developed a gray, dusty appearance as billions of microscopic machines ate through them atom by atom. "Deploy the AI hunters," Kim ordered. From his flagship, thousands of small drones launched into space. Each drone contained a sophisticated artificial intelligence programmed for one purpose: to infiltrate alien computer systems and turn them into weapons against their own fleets. The aliens tried to shoot down the drones, but they moved with inhuman precision, dodging energy beams and missile attacks. "Sir, the enemy is attempting to shut down all their computer systems," the tactical officer reported. "Let them," Kim replied. "Ships without computers are just floating targets." Across human space, similar scenes were playing out. On New Shanghai, Colonel Yoon Sang-ho watched as mining equipment converted into weapons tore through alien landing forces. Industrial mechs, designed for construction work, proved surprisingly effective at destroying enemy soldiers. Plasma cutters meant for asteroid mining sliced through alien armor like paper. The hegemony had expected to fight a conventional war against a primitive enemy. Instead, they found themselves facing weapons that should not exist, tactics that made no sense, and an enemy that seemed to have infinite ways to kill. "Ma'am," Min-Seok reported, "we are receiving surrender requests from 17 different hegemony worlds. They are asking for individual peace treaties." Sujin studied the tactical displays showing human victories across dozens of star systems. Tell them we will consider their requests after they explain to us why they thought threatening humanity was a good idea. The war was far from over, but the aliens were beginning to understand their mistake. They had awakened something that had been sleeping peacefully in a small corner of the galaxy. Now that something was fully awake, and it was very, very angry. Fleet Admiral Kim Jae-young stood on the bridge of the TNV Seoul, humanity's newest and most terrifying warship, as it dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the hegemony's capital system. Behind him stretched the largest battle fleet in human history, but calling them ships was almost wrong. They were floating weapons platforms, mobile laboratories of destruction, and devices that pushed the very limits of what science could achieve, sir, reported Captain Lee So-young from her tactical station. Enemy fleet detected. They have assembled everything they have left. 2,047 vessels in defensive formation around their core worlds. Jae-young studied the tactical display with eyes that had seen 40 years of human warfare evolution. The alien formation was textbook perfect, exactly what their military academies had taught for thousands of years. Overlapping fields of fire, redundant shield coverage, optimized energy distribution. It would have been effective against any civilized opponent. The problem was that humans had stopped being civilized the moment the aliens threatened their homes. So-young opened a channel to the enemy fleet. The main screen flickered to life, showing High Commander Veltar, the same crystalline being who had delivered the original ultimatum. But now the alien leader looked different. Its perfect features were cracked with stress, and its voice carried none of its earlier confidence. "Human fleet," Veltar began, "we are prepared to negotiate new terms." "Surely we can reach some agreement that—" "No," Jae-young interrupted. "You had your chance to negotiate. You chose war instead." So-young, begin the demonstration. "Sir, which weapons should we deploy first?" Jae-young smiled grimly. "All of them. Show them what 300 years of human military innovation looks like when we stop holding back." The TNV Seoul opened fire first, but not with energy weapons or conventional missiles. Instead it launched what appeared to be a simple metal rod, no bigger than a telephone pole. But this rod was moving at 90% of light speed, and when it hit the lead alien dreadnought, the impact released more energy than a nuclear weapon. The massive ship simply vanished in a ball of plasma and radiation. "Relativistic kill vehicles deployed," So-young reported. "Direct hits on 17 enemy vessels." But that was just the beginning. The human fleet began to reveal weapons that defied every rule of civilized warfare. Nuclear warheads that created artificial stars, burning so hot they turned nearby ships into vapor. Biological weapons that transformed enemy hulls into breeding grounds for engineered viruses. Quantum devices that allowed human forces to teleport explosives directly into alien command centers. Sir So-young called out, "The enemy is trying to retreat, denied, deploy the time dilation field." Space itself seemed to slow around the alien fleet. Their ships moved like they were trapped in thick liquid while human vessels operated at normal speed. It was like watching a fight between hummingbirds and statues. Incoming transmission from multiple enemy vessels, So-young reported, "Are broadcasting surrender on all frequencies." The main screen showed not just Veltar, but dozens of alien commanders,
all speaking at once,
in a chaos of different languages. Through the babble, one message came through clearly: complete and unconditional surrender. We yield. Veltar's voice rose above the others. "We surrender. Please, what manner of beings are you?" Jae-young leaned back in his command chair, surrounded by tactical displays showing the complete destruction of the galaxy's most powerful military force. "We are humans. You wanted to see what we are capable of when threatened. We showed you our homework." Veltar's crystalline features flickered with confusion. "Your homework." "Everything you just witnessed," Jae-young explained calmly. "That is what we do for fun. That is what we build when we are bored. That is what we create when we are at peace." His smile was sharp as a knife. "You want to know what we are really capable of? Not give us a reason to show you?" The alien commander's image wavered as if the transmission was failing. "This is impossible. No species can possess such variety of weapons." The resources required, the research, the coordination, the difference between us and you, Jung interrupted, is that you threw away your old weapons when you developed new ones. You became efficient and streamlined. We kept everything. Every war, every conflict, every terrible idea our species ever had, we preserved it all. Dr. Lee Yunru watched from her command station as the final phase of the demonstration began. The experimental weapons that had been too dangerous to use were finally unleashed. Devices that created microscopic black holes, weapons that turned the vacuum of space itself into a destructive force. Technology that violated so many laws of physics that it should not have been possible. The exotic matter bombs are ready, she reported. Fire them, Jae-young ordered. What happened next was indescribable. Reality itself seemed to tear apart around the remaining alien ships. Space folded in on itself, creating impossible geometries that human eyes could barely process. The few surviving hegemony vessels were not destroyed so much as they were edited out of existence. Sir Sol Young said quietly, "We are receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. Every major power is requesting immediate diplomatic contact with humanity. They are offering tribute, alliance treaties, and trade agreements." Jae-young nodded, unsurprised. "And the hegemony, broadcasting a galaxy-wide warning. They're telling everyone to avoid human space at all costs. Their exact words were, they do not fight wars. They fight with war itself. Within hours, the surrender was complete and absolute. The hegemony's remaining worlds begged for mercy, offering everything they had in exchange for peace. Other alien civilizations rushed to establish friendly relations with humanity, suddenly very interested in being allies rather than enemies. But perhaps the most important message came from Earth itself, broadcast on all frequencies for the entire galaxy to hear. This concludes our demonstration. We hope you are taking notes. Class dismissed.